Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to everyone who has joined us from the Middle East region, and a good day to the other guests who are from other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us for the 12th online session hosted by ICF Oman chapter during the International Coaching Week. I am Coach Anjana Lumba, Education and Programming Chair for ICF Oman chapter. Please note that this session is being recorded for members who have not been able to attend. A quick note on housekeeping. We'd request you to please keep the mics on mute unless the speaker requests to participate. And please post your questions on the chat, and we will hopefully be able to answer those by the end of the session. By attending this session, you will get a CCE certificate, which I will forward to your registered email within 2 weeks. By the end of the session, we'll also request you to fill in a quick feedback form just to let us know how things went for you. And now it is my privilege to introduce our speaker for today's session, Dr. Clare Beckett-McInroy, right? Did I pronounce that correct?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. ICF Impact Award winners 2023 for coach training. EMCC special recognition for team coaching, thought leader and researcher, global speaker and experiential trainer, master coach and master practitioner, and accredited supervisor, expert in leadership and organizational development, and a psychometrist. How many more do we want to add there? Dr. Clare has coached on the ground in 11 countries, 4 continents, including with global billion-dollar family businesses, Fortune hundreds, oil and gas, foreign direct investments, education, insurance, health and telecom sectors. She is founder of Beckett-McInroy Consultancy and Coach Me coaching model, resources, and award-winning training, as well as the TAP 360 team level profiling tool, which have been translated into over 30 languages, living her values of inclusivity and enabling empowering system through the benefits of diversity. What more can I say? Welcome, Dr. Clare. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. And as I said at the very start, we really appreciate all the work that the chapter does in organising such events. And so today what I'd like to do is to, first of all, do a little bit of knowledge share, and then to be able to demonstrate ways that we can partner with our clients. It's really interesting. Sorry, I brought up the PDF instead of the PowerPoint, so just give me a second. It's really interesting when the new competencies, it was 2021 when they came out. The new competencies came out, and the word partnering was in there so many times. And right now, I feel even more than ever that if we partner in coaching, mentor coaching, leadership, supervision, partner in our world, we can all make a positive transformational impact. So that's the essence of the session. And we'll be looking at the way psychological safety to support belonging can be embedded into the coaching relationship. I use an eclectic approach, many different modalities with Gestalt and clean language and Nancy Klein's thinking time. And in that way, it's quite nice to be able to notice in the different modalities the way that partnering shows up. So I hope you leave with that today as well, and ways that you can consider stepping even more into partnering with your clients, be it one-on-one, group, team coaching. And so we don't need the introductions. There's some slides here about our organisation that I'm not going to go through in any detail, but you will get the slides later. We do ICS level 1, 2, 3, and CCEs in coach education, mentor coaching and supervision, as well as the team coaching program. And we've done a lot of work on the ground in Oman as well. And if you need more information, especially on our level 3 that people have said is quite unique, then there's details there. We have Coach Me community cafes, complimentary once a month. Sometimes it's a demonstration, sometimes it's research, and all of those are also on our YouTube channel, BMC/Coach Me. And so, partnering is, what's partnering to you? I invite you to come off mute if you wish to, or to write a sentence or two, or some words, or a metaphor.
Collaboration.
Collaboration, thank you. And what else have we got here in our relational system today in terms of our awareness or experiences of partnering? Anyone else like to share? We've got a few things in. They tend to come slowly and then lots in the chat, don't they? So, yeah, synergy, alignment between two or more. Hello, Andrew. Nice to have you here. Support the client as equals. Absolutely equal relationship in coaching. Slightly different in supervision in elements when advising may be needed, the same in mentor coaching, bringing us together and maintain equilibrium. Oh, I do love the word equilibrium there. Thank you, everyone. And so, why partnering? So there's 2 slides here to really encapsulate my rationale for this session. And it's something interestingly that I haven't presented on before. So sometimes I can over prepare like 3 hours worth of slides for an hour. So you will get potentially more slides than we've delivered today. And then Kathy's also put in the chat intentionally seeking to come together with value for both parties, bringing best strengths and uniqueness. Beautiful. So why partnering? From research, I looked at about 6 or 7 different research articles and also things like Harvard Business Review to see what was coming out around partnering. So equity, diversity, and inclusion definitely show up across the board, regardless of, whether it's research in leadership or research in psychology or sociology. And even one article was about the legal profession. And yet we've got equity, diversity, and inclusion. Belonging to me is even more important because we can put everything in place and we can write the best policies for organizations and procedures. And yet belonging is what people experience. And so it's worth checking in with clients as well in terms of, and what did you experience in our relationship? And what way could we together enable more partnering and potentially more belonging? Belonging even more so for group and team coaching. It does absolutely build trust and psychological safety. We've mentioned already, isn't that interesting in the chat, the shared ownership. And also, if anyone knows about level 1 listening, internal, what's going on for us. Level 2 listening, hard focus, working to understand something and get curious about the other person or the other people's perspectives. So shared ownership is also about sharing everything through the life cycle of a coaching relationship. right from that first call or message or email, what way are you working in partnership with your clients all the way through to closing the coaching engagement? And then curiosity over assumption. Really interesting because this was, again, from research. However, those words are embedded in the core competencies and other competencies of ICF. And then co-creating solutions. And we know on boards that when there is diverse perspectives, we get even better solutions. You know, be it age or experience or religion, many different things, spirituality, so many different types of things relevant here in terms of identity. And then partnering also supports ethical leadership. And there's so much more in our world being written about that. And then I mentioned DDIB, intersectional understanding, valuing difference, and hearing from others' experiences. And the last one there, empathy, as opposed to sympathy. And so, of course, there isn't time to dive into these deeply, but these are just some of the theories around partnering. So definitely a relational approach. Eric DeHaan writes a lot about that. And it's about one way of describing it is the third entity. We have it in the Coach Me model as well, where there's the coach, or in team coaching, it may be two coaches together. And then we have the client. And then we have the relationship as a third entity. What does that relationship need for us to work in partnership together? Those are the types of questions we can ask. And then David Clutterbuck writes a lot about complex adaptive systems. Again, partnership is mentioned so many times in the evidence of impact from those particular approaches. And then organizational development. I do some work with David Clutterbuck and also Dumi from ICF, the president of ICF, and he talks a lot about Ubuntu. I am because we are. And also the way to ensure that we don't just jump into things together. We really acknowledge the person who is with us, be they in person, online, just audio, or even in an email. And then many different ones there. Theory U as well about sensing, sifting, focusing, and understanding. Going deeper in listening, which again is in the ICF competencies, listening beyond words, not just to what's being said, but the tone and pitch and the body language, and also sharing what we are recognizing. For example, a client, leans over and it appears that you're reflecting here. What's there for you? Or what's that about? So articulating what we're noticing as coach as well. And so the next few slides, you will get them all at the end. I'm going through quickly just to sort of substantiate, to back up why I feel partnering is so important. So for coaching, in the core competencies, few examples. We can't have ethics that we've created together unless we listen to each other. We cannot have contracts with organizations or individuals unless, again, we really understand what is needed and where everyone is at in terms of expectations and roles, just as some of the few things. And then being sensitive to identity, environment, experiences, unpacking different beliefs and values together. Being aware of appropriate language. And again, you know, the agreements with many different stakeholders and partnering with people we trust if we need to give referrals as well. There's probably even more than the ones I've highlighted here, but things like client-centered. And we need to partner to understand what the client needs in the time frame that they need it and what they want to achieve from our work together. And then unpacking the influence of context and cultures. We've got there in cultivating trust and safety, partnering to create a safe, supportive environment. Oh, we've got that one twice. Sorry about that. And then also fully conscious and present with the client. And we can't do that unless we stay focused, aware of ourselves, awareness of them, and also what's happening in the relationship. And being responsive to the client in the moment. Reflecting right there in the moment. Shall we stay a little longer to enable them to go deeper? Or should we shift to go somewhere different together? And even asking the client that type of question brings in partnership as well. And then understanding the context beyond the person that we're experiencing in front of us. So what's in the client's system? And then tapping into not just the words and the number of times they use different words, but the tone, the body language, and mismatch when someone may say something, but the way they are is a mismatch between words and the way they're showing up. And then adjusting the coaching in response to the client's needs. If we're not fully present and partnering, then that particular thing can be tricky. And so we could do many, many, many more minutes on all of these. Partnering, supporting, partnering, celebrating for me is such a massive one. I was speaking to Jonathan Passmore recently and brought in the concept of celebrating. Is it there in the competencies enough? We've included it in the Coach Me model at the top. We believe in this work together, momentum, moving it forward and deepening understanding, but also celebrating the big wins. Yay, you got that promotion. But celebrating right there in the moment when they're brave sharing, when they've had an aha moment, but even appreciation and celebrating the relationship together. So this model we created about 15 years ago. We use it for supervision, mentoring, team coaching, and it's in over 30 languages because we've really tried with some amazing volunteer coaches from around the world to translate it to increase belonging in our field. It's even in Klingon. And then also there's a write-up there about the model as well. So let's move on to mentor coaching. Of course, the essence of mentor coaching is we are mentoring different relationship, not necessarily equal power, because sometimes we are sharing from our expertise. We've been there, done that, and we are advising. And so things like providing professional assistance, listening and feeding back, supporting capacity. enabling the person we're working with to identify, benchmarking where they're at, where they need to be, and what way they will get there in the time scale that they choose. So again, really partnering around the goals for the relationship as well. And then using their language, but also I'd blend in here their learning style, being aware of that. And it also speaks to things like neurodivergence. We don't all learn the same way. And so partnering about that as well. And then for us maintaining agreements, checking in as partners throughout the mentor coaching relationship. Are we on track? What else is needed? What way can we improve our relationship together? Trust, like the core competencies, and moving together towards insights and integrating that learning into future action. There's more. And I'll move on now. Group coaching, it's mentioned, and I wonder where we will go in terms of potentially specific competencies for group coaching. Some people see a team as a type of group, or some people see it the other way around. However, I feel that group coaching, where people together are coached on a similar topic, even though they're not in the same team, whether it's across an organization, or people are coached together and learn by listening to the way others have dealt with different things in their life. And so again, it's partnering in the learning. And then moving on to the supervision competencies, where it's resourcing, benchmarking, and also the restorative element of supervision, where we are ensuring that we are being at our best in service of our clients. So again, partnering in terms of the agreement and shared responsibilities and the scope, partnering in terms of managing. So you brought 2 topics today and we're halfway through. Shall we stick with this one or move on to the other topic? Things like that. Creating a supportive environment and checking in on that. And supporting the person that we're supervising or the group personally and professionally. And then also partnering in ethics, as we've mentioned before. And then coach educator competencies and team coaching competencies. So team coaching first. Co-creates the coaching relationship in partnership with the team and its stakeholders. Works in collaboration. Facilitates team learning and development. Enables the team to take ownership and responsibility. Co-creates insights and using those insights together. And we've got the systemic element at the bottom, a collective responsibility. And of course, in all of that, as coaches, team coaches, co-team coaches, we're modeling collective responsibility by demonstrating that with our client team. And then the coach educator competencies that aren't as well known, but of course, again, when we are training or facilitating or creating, instructional design, delivery, and assessment of workshops, again, it needs to be in partnership. If it's top down, we are telling and just filling up a bucket with knowledge, then people don't get necessarily what they need out of it, but also they don't get as much out of it. Full stop. And so guidance and support, lots of check-ins and collaboration. Now, we advocate reflective learning. So whether you're a mentor, coach, leader, one-on-one, group or team coach, considering your work, what you were experiencing, checking in with the client, what they were experiencing, evaluating what worked, what didn't, because ways you can lean more into partnership, concluding, and then creating actions that you commit to integrating when you're with that client or other clients again. It's also about noticing patterns. And so, regardless of the modality that you use in your practice, be it somatic work, for example, what are you experiencing in your body? Psychodynamics. When was your first experience of that? And what are you experiencing now that you've reflected on that moment? Or tapping into the knowledge in the system through constellations. Or be it gestalt, exaggeration, or positive psychology. Someone says, I'm stuck. And in that stuck, what's 1% that isn't stuck? And things also like behavioral, what needs to shift in the way you're being to create the impact that you need. In all of these, partnering is front and center. Now, I'm going to close the slides we have. I think there's just a few pictures here. You'll get these later. And then with that whistle stop tour, I'd love if anyone's willing to do a short coaching demonstration to bring partnering to life. Or if there's one or two questions at this point, while someone's considering a topic that they may wish to be coached upon. Any questions? Badria.
No, not me. I'm trying to tell them to participate. Huh? Who's coming?
Come on, be in partnership with me.
يلا نهى بيتا, who's there? Andrew.
Anyone like a little bit of coaching? And remember, when it's a demonstration, we won't be going super deep. It is more about demonstrating what we've just been considering. Another thing to consider is, from what I've shared, a few questions here, and I shouldn't be question stacking, so I'll ask one at a time because I thought of about 10. How much do you partner with your clients? How aware were you of how front and center partnering is in the core competencies and the other ICF competencies that I've shared?
Okay, so let me speak then.
Wonderful.
For me, partnering is happening all the way, يعني, from the beginning to the end, يعني, from the call, from the email, from each session, inside the session itself, when we say where you want to go, what you want to do. So it's all the way, and it's all the way around. It's a mutual communication between me and who is in the session, not only in the session, also the stakeholders, the company, whoever is related to that partnership with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Badria. And just to share one thing that I noticed, because I do a lot of mental coaching, especially for people applying for MCC. And sometimes coaches are not aware that we can even partner around managing the session and timing. So, for example, the majority of times, from my experience, it's usually the coach who says, so we have about 5 minutes left. Actually, what if we partner in the contracting pre-session and at the start of the session to say, what way can we partner around the time of the session? What way can we manage the timing in the session together? So it's not just the responsibility of the coach. It's also the coachee or the team or the group saying, hey, 10 minutes left. How about we do this to really focus down for this last 10 minutes? Or we're halfway through. How are we doing in terms of achieving our goal together? And notice there, I'm also working to use partnering language, we instead of I. Anyone, any other thoughts or questions? Anything you've thought in terms of, from what I've shared, what you may choose to have a go at or do different with your clients?
Hi, Claire. This is Kathy Vaughn. Can I ask a question about something you just said?
Absolutely.
So, you did something very interesting. You said, notice that we say we as opposed to I. I remember getting feedback in one of my PCC recordings in my first attempt, right? Like 2013. I can't remember when it was, 2017 maybe, that I shouldn't be using we, I should be using you only. And I'm just curious because you've also used the we, and maybe again, we're coming from parts of the world. I'm based in Kenya, where the collective is more strong than the North American competency framework. I'd love for you just to respond if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I love the way you brought in, the sort of socio-cultural context there. And ICF, I've been on a number of their working parties in creating the competencies, supervision ones and the 2021 competencies over the years. And they really do work hard to make those groups inclusive so that, different socio-cultural and other perspectives are in there. Now, in terms of the we and the I, 2017, it was different competencies. And then I sort of say, it sounds mischievous, but I sort of say, and when the 2021 competencies came out, the word partnering was there a million times. I say a million, just so we really remember it. So wouldn't it be amazing, Kathy, if that recording was assessed again to see if the assessor would look at it differently? Because I believe they totally would. And
Thank you.
I also feel, especially with one-to-many, how can we not partner? I hope that helps.
No, absolutely. It was just for me, such an odd feedback. Because I think I had worked so hard after so many years to move from very individualistic to much more collectivistic.
And
then I was
inclusive.
getting feedback. Yes, and getting feedback. So thank you for that. And I'll reflect I don't know if I still have it, but I'll see if I do.
It's interesting. Yeah. And I'm reflecting here on sometimes, we have ICF levels 1, 2, and 3. Some people sort of return to us and others come for our level 3, or just for the mental coaching if they've trained elsewhere or they're doing the portfolio route. And sometimes this bit requires some relearning. And I'd love to, well, I'd love to do research on so many things, but I'd love to do research in terms of the way that this celebration piece shows up in partnering together. So we'll see what comes of that over time. So Andrew, in terms of the Gibbs reflective cycle, I'll bring it up. Just let me go backwards here. That took a little longer than I expected there. So imagine it's a session, and I'm choosing this one purposefully because we tend to go to, oh no, what went wrong with that session? Or, oh gosh, the energy of that client today. Or, oh, you know, that sort of things haven't gone right. So choosing a topic where things worked, there was impact, the clients shared afterwards, that session was really good. So consider yourself just data initially. What happened? What happened in the session in terms of way of being together, process, amount of content, the modality you chose, and then go to what you were experiencing. And so it may be full focus and, oh my goodness, the time just went so quickly because of that. Or it may be energized. And then what worked? And also here we can bring in, where possible, data from clients in terms of what they're sharing around what worked. And why did it work? And is there, you know, research or theory around that? Or is it just anecdotal? And so it's something to keep an eye on to see if that also works with this client other days or with different clients as well. And then also going to, you know, either what didn't work and what could be improved even more. And then the analysis. What made that good stuff happen? And even glancing at the competencies there as a check-in. It's a job description. What was I doing as a coach? And then going to, and it's not linear, hence the arrows, and then going to the conclusions. What have I learned about myself? What have I learned about this client? What have I learned about my approach to coaching? What have I learned in terms of topic today, partnering? And what ways I could potentially use what worked and use that even more. And then, what now? What will I do in future? What might I choose to sustain? What might I shift in terms of my approach to try something different again and see what happens there? And sometimes it's useful to have a session with someone, you know, or a client, and then, you know, I'm thinking another coach when I say someone, you know, or a client, by sharing with them, I'm working on this, I'm playing with this right now. Would it be okay if I blend this into our session? They usually always say yes. And so that's a way to stretch, maybe something like silence, or to really ensure you use the shortest questions possible, or that you consciously blend in questions around the way they're showing up in different parts of their life, blending in a systemic focus, but also, you know, who they're being. It can even be existential. And what way does this fit into your life purpose? So the action plan is how we're going to integrate it. And then we integrate it over there where the flowers and the sunshine are. And then we go back to describing. So our Gyrus and Scon talk about double and triple loop learning, where we explore and then we go out and practice again. And then we come back to reflect. And there's the double, and you can even move into a more complex triple loop learning as well. Even more effective is when we do this together. Do it together with a mentor coach or a supervisor or a peer, and you listen to the recording together to identify what worked. And they can even bring in different layers by enabling you to consider, in that moment, notice the impact of that intervention or that question. Play it back. What made it powerful? So by doing that with someone else, it can go even deeper than if we do that on our own. And the other thing is, so we've had some students on our mentor coaching certification to enable them to mentor coach and deep dive into the competencies, but also how to mentor coach. And this CCE program, some of them, because of all sorts of reasons, for the assessment, it's about presenting a tape, a recording of the, you know, that particular student mentor coaching, and then we mentor them on their mentor coaching. And now and again, if people have not been able to, I've actually said, would you like to mentor coach me? And it's been absolutely fabulous, because there's been a lot of discussion in terms of the relationship, because I've trained them on the program, which is one dynamic, and then they're mentoring me, and they may be going towards PCC or MCC, and I've renewed my MCC a number of times. So all of that relational aspect is unpacked pre-session. But it really made me realize as well that, of course, mentor, you know, like people say, a puppy isn't just for Christmas, it's for life. Mentor coaching isn't just for credentialing. It's for our ongoing development as coaches. And so it's been fabulous. I've had it twice this year, and it's been fabulous to just see things from a different perspective. Notice any bad habits, just like driving, we can get into bad habits, but also have the perspective of someone else who's really taken a recent deep dive into the PCC markers, the MCC bars, the core competencies, and to be totally open to that feedback. So it's been a wonderful experience, actually. Some people call it reverse mentor coaching. Not many organizations do that either, and it is really useful. So just go to the chat.
Comments. I don't know if I could comment on.
Please do, absolutely.
Dr. Clare, what a pleasure to listen to you. What a pleasure to have this huge overview of coaching. You remind me of the use of art. Coaching is an art. You make it sound, live like an art, like a passion, like a love story. I've often referred to it as a love story, and you have illustrated it through your words, your feelings, your presence with us. Absolutely fascinating. You've talked of creativity. You have reminded us of improvisation, of testing, of reflecting. It's absolutely fabulous, absolutely fascinating listening to you. And the collective also, you have stressed togetherness. Without togetherness, well, you would be a lone thinker, a lone researcher. So you have stressed all the learning behind what we do every day, and how we stay connected and fascinated by coaching, because it's an everyday, every session fascination. You have brought all of this throughout your interaction, throughout your response, throughout your presentation. Thank you ever so much, Dr. Clare.
Speechless, thank you. What a kind thing to share. Thank you. And I see now from Nuha in the chat. So please, anyone else, dip in as well in terms of answering this. So reviewing or amending partnership over time. So that chemistry session, the deciding, are we right together? It's not just their decision or ours, it's a joint decision. And then in sessions, even things like, what style of coaching do we need today? Sometimes that can need a bit of explanation, but things like, I've had a really difficult morning, so be nice with me, softly, softly, shway, shway in Arabic. Or hardcore, be tough with me today. But also at the end of the session, and this I borrowed from Nancy Klein, what's worked in our relationship today? It's great to capture that at the end of the session, because then we can work to use that in future sessions with the client as well. And sometimes between sessions, just a little bit of a, hey, let's do a stop, start and continue in terms of how our relationship is in our work together. And so that may be just verbal or, even WhatsApp or email. We're using WhatsApp for all sorts now, aren't we? And it's a little check-in, but it means that we're both continuing to consider partnership. Any other questions, thoughts, or comments? And I'll just put our YouTube channel in the chat. So if you put that into YouTube, you'll get the YouTube channel. There's numerous recordings from myself and our faculty. We're a faculty of 10 MCCs globally and 7 at last count, 7 PCCs. And so quite often we've got demonstrations on there, of course, with permission to share, should you wish to look at anything. And we've also got our supervision conference on there that we had at the end of last year as well.
Yeah, I just want also to add, Dr. Claire, that contracting is also related to culture, to who the person is, the diversity of the clients and people around us need us to make that partnership, understand the culture, the people around us, to bring all their thoughts inside. So our coaching session or contract will be better.
Perfect. And I'm thinking there of working in many different places, as you know, in the Middle East. And I think a big one is never assume. Because even in one of the Middle Eastern countries, there's cultures within cultures.
True.
And so we can't just say the Middle East or the Omani, because there's so many different things at play. And so I remember it was when I stepped into executive coaching, senior leaders and senior teams, and I had supervision around this as well, because sometimes I was anxious or nervous around saying the wrong thing. I've also felt the same sometimes if, for example, I've been doing a program in the US, and after living in the Middle East for so long, even though I mean, my husband tells me off how many books I get from Amazon, even though I'm always wanting to read and learn. There's also the thing of PC, what's politically correct? It's hard for us to stay fully abreast of that and which terminology is right and what's okay in one jurisdiction compared to another. And so I came up with, in the partnering with the client, you know, senior leadership teams, especially dispersed teams working in different localities around the world, even different time zones, that please, at any time, if I say something that triggers you, doesn't land, isn't your context, maybe even at worst is inappropriate, please share that in whatever way you see fit. And now I tend to always say that. It also means I can relax then, because it means together we can learn.
May I say that I love the way you approach culture. It's an old idea that I had, that culture is culture. We had different cultures. Then I came to realize we can come from an Arab Muslim background, but not necessarily share culture. And then we can come from the same family and not share culture. I believe there is today an individual culture. If we take individuals with all the influences they would have gone through from here and there, I've always found, now more than ever, that each one of us has one culture. So I entirely agree with you with these old thoughts that, the Middle East, you are in the Middle East. Of course, I say, no, there is no of course. Everywhere you go, there is no of course. And I have one question about mentoring and coaching. Have you ever felt, Dr. Clare, after so many years, that you may still slip into some sort of mentoring when it's obviously there, the answer is there? Or can you always escape mentoring and stay within coaching? And thank you.
Thank you. So I think what does help is the fact that I'm mentoring a lot of coaches. That helps me even more to be more conscious of my coaching. And now and again, I don't tend to take notes in sessions, but now and again, I mean, I always have paper in front of me, and I might just write 1 or 2 words. And that's usually ooh, I'm in my head now with my solution, or, ooh, maybe we should go there next. And I write it down and I don't even look at it. But it's almost like, you know, when people say if you wake in the night worrying, write it on paper next to you and leave it there till the morning. So I use it in that way. And I think that almost offloading, taking it out of my head, helps me get back to where they are. There's another thing, I'll try and say it quick because I'm conscious of time, that really helps in partnering, and it also talks to what you've just said. It's a drama technique called voice mirroring. So before you go on the stage, if there's people already on the stage and they're doing their thing and you're the next actor going on the stage, you're not going to be on your phone. Yeah? You're not going to be thinking about your shopping list. You're going to be full focus on the energy and what's being said, so you enter at the right time in the right way. And a way to do that is to mirror what's being said silently. And so if you ever feel a slight disconnect, we're human, you know, a plane went past, and we go over there for a second and want to get back here with the client. Voice mirror. Listen and mirror back just silently what they're saying. I guarantee in any conversation, you'll get back on track and full focus really quickly. So I believe that, I want to play with it even more now, but I believe that can help us to get out of our head and over there from their perspective. And so our time has come to a close. We've only got 1 minute, otherwise I would end with, what way shall we end this session together?
By taking a group picture and also doing a quick vote of thanks.
Wonderful.
I would request to please take a screenshot and request the participants to come on the camera if they can.
Yes, I'll take it now. Please come on camera. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. It's done.
Coach Badria, can I also request you for a quick vote of thanks?
Yes, of course. Thank you, everyone. Thank you today. It's our last day, but inshallah, it will not be our last event in ICF Oman. I hope that all of you had a wonderful international coaching week with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, but this knowledge has to be in practice, inshallah, with you, with your families, with your countries, wherever of the world you are. I also would like to thank my group from our head President Caroline, Majda, Fatma, Farz, Anjina, and Bita. Thank you all for being a team working together. Thank you very, very, very much, Dr. Claire, to be here. We are very proud of you, and I've been a student with you since maybe 5 years back, and very thanks for everyone who's here. Thank you. Have a nice day. Have a nice whatever you would like to do today. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Shukran jazilan. Lovely to see everyone.
Thank you so much.
Ma'as-salama.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Salam.